In October 2003, 6 Przewalski's horses stepped out of transport crates in the Altyn Emel National Park in southeastern Kazakhstan. They were the first truly wild horses to stand on that steppe in more than 200 years. They did not look around. The lead mare dropped her head and drove her hooves into the dry ground in short, powerful strokes, breaking the surface crust. Around her, the others spread and began grazing, not the neat, selective grazing of domestic horses, but a territorial sweep across the cracked earth, mouths pulling grass down to the root, hooves turning the compacted soil behind them. No one told them to do any of this. The steppe they had walked onto looked like grassland, but was not. It had the shape of one, flat, open, stretching to the horizon, but the soil beneath was crusted and biologically broken. 60 years of Soviet collective farming had replaced native grass communities with degraded pasture, overrun by cattle until the native species were gone and the topsoil had sealed into a layer so hard that rain ran straight off without soaking in. The grass that remained was coarse and uniform. Nothing grew beneath it. And what those 6 horses did to that ground over the years that followed, multiplying into dozens, then past 100, grazing across the flat land of Altyn Emel in the patterns their species had followed for 50,000 years, would rebuild what no government program and no seeding machine had managed to restore. This is how. The Kazakh steppe is the largest continuous grassland on Earth. At its peak, it stretched 4,000 kilometers from Ukraine to Mongolia, a single unbroken sea of native grass shaped over millions of years by a specific combination of animals, climate, and soil. The animals were everything. Wild horses, saiga antelope, and aurochs moved in vast bands, grazing in patterns that prevented any single grass species from monopolizing the ground. Their hooves broke the biological soil crust after each rain, letting water infiltrate rather than run off. Their dung returned nutrients and seed back to the soil in a continuous loop that required no management, no machinery, and no understanding. The Soviet Union ended that loop in a single generation. Between 1954 and 1963, Khrushchev's Virgin Lands campaign plowed 41.8 million hectares of steppe for wheat production. What the plows missed, collective livestock farming finished. Cattle herds 5 times larger than the land could sustain were pushed onto remaining grassland. Native grass communities, the deep-rooted perennial species that had anchored the soil for thousands of years, were replaced by shallow-rooted annuals and bare, compacted ground. The biological soil crust, which had taken centuries to form and which regulated water infiltration across the entire ecosystem, was broken and never reformed. By 1991, when the Soviet Union collapsed, Kazakhstan had lost more than 26 million hectares of productive steppe to degradation. From a distance, the land still looked like grass. Walk onto it, and the soil was sealed like concrete. Roots could not penetrate, rain could not infiltrate. Wind stripped the surface in visible columns of dust. Biological zero on a continental scale. The Kazakhstani government tried the obvious thing first. They fenced the degraded land and stopped grazing. Conservation theory in the 1990s held that degraded grassland needed rest. Remove the livestock, let the native species recover on their own. The approach had worked in some contexts. In the Kazakh steppe, it failed. Long-term monitoring plots established in 1994 showed that after 10 years of complete rest, the dominant species on former collective farmland were not native perennial grasses. They were annual weeds. The native species had not come back because the soil structure that allowed their roots to penetrate was still broken. Removing the wrong kind of grazing did not fix the soil. It just stopped making things worse. So they tried seeding. Aerial and ground-level programs introduced native grass seed across hundreds of thousands of hectares between 1998 and 2010. The seed landed on ground sealed by biological soil crust. Germination requires soil contact. A seed sitting on a hardpan surface in a Kazakh summer dries out before it can root. Germination rates on untreated degraded steppe came back at under 4%. The seed budget was significant. The results were not. Mechanical scarification followed. It was the same tool that Brandenburg tried on mine land, and it produced the same result. One-directional, one-depth tine passes broke the crust in lines but left the ground between the lines untouched. Grasses germinated briefly in the scarified rows. The crust reformed within one growing season. The same ground needed retreating every year at a cost that no post-Soviet conservation budget could sustain across millions of hectares. The steppe needed something that moved constantly, covered ground unpredictably, broke the soil in 3 dimensions, and did it for free. That was what the horses were for. 6 horses, 1 hypothesis. The team coordinating the Altyn Emel reintroduction, conservationists from the Prague Zoo, working alongside Kazakhstan's Ministry of Ecology, were not running an ecosystem restoration program in any formal sense. The primary goal was species survival, getting Przewalski's horses back onto land where their genetics could express in the wild, before the zoo populations accumulated too many generations of captive selection. The soil science was secondary. What the soil scientists found in the years after the first 6 animals arrived was not secondary. The horses were released into a fenced section of Altyn Emel covering 5,000 hectares. No supplemental feeding, no active management beyond predator monitoring. Researchers from the Institute of Zoology in Almaty set up permanent monitoring plots across the release area and in adjacent ungrazed degraded steppe, with baseline soil samples, seed bank analysis, plant species inventories, and water infiltration measurements. The baseline on both sides of the fence was the same: compacted degraded pasture, sealed soil crust, 11 native plant species per square meter. Then the horses started working. By the end of the first summer, camera traps showed the lead mare's family group had covered the full 5,000 hectares and broken ground across several hundred patches of soil. The grazing wasn't uniform. It was clustered, rotational, and unpredictable. Exactly the pattern that decades of conservation fence and rest policy had been unable to replicate with any mechanical or passive intervention. The soil inside the fence was already different from the soil outside it. The question was how different and why. 4 things happen when a Przewalski's horse band moves through degraded steppe. Each one does something no fence, no cedar, and no scarification rig can do. The first is crust fracture. A Przewalski's horse hoof is wider and rounder than a domestic horse hoof, and the animals move in overlapping patterns rather than single-file tracks. Each strike on the biological soil crust generates a radial fracture, not a linear channel, but a web of cracks spreading outward from the point of impact. A band of 20 horses crossing 100 meters leaves the ground fractured in hundreds of directions. Rain that previously ran off now finds pathways into the soil. Grass roots sealed off from rainfall for decades begin accessing water again. The second is grazing mosaic. Przewalski's horses graze in short, intense bursts, then move on without returning at predictable intervals. The result is a patchwork of grass at different heights, some grazed to 2 centimeters, some untouched at 15. Each height zone is a different microhabitat, different invertebrates, different soil temperature, different moisture retention. Uniform degraded pasture holds 11 native plant species. The mosaic the horses created held 34. The third is wallowing. Horses roll in dust and mud, creating bare depressions where the biological crust is fully removed. These patches become colonization points. Native grass seeds arriving by wind or dung find direct soil contact and germinate. The fourth is seed transport. A Przewalski's horse covers 15 to 25 kilometers daily across a home range of several thousand hectares. Every dung deposit along that route carries viable seeds from every grass and herb species the animal has grazed. Studies from Mongolian sites documented seeds of more than 40 steppe plant species in a single sample. Seeds move from recovered patches into degraded ones, dispersed by the same animal whose hooves opened the soil to receive them. 4 mechanisms. 12 hours of daily movement. No management required. By year 5, the monitoring data from Altyn Emel had started to look like something the researchers had not expected. Soil water infiltration inside the fenced release area was 3 times higher than on adjacent ungrazed degraded steppe. 3 times. That single number matters more than almost any other metric in grassland restoration, because infiltration is what determines whether rain becomes growth or runoff. On the ungrazed side of the fence, summer rainfall events produced surface flow and evaporation. On the horse-grazed side, the same rainfall was disappearing into the soil within minutes of landing. I keep coming back to that gap. The same rain, the same flat ground, the same distance from the fence line. One side dead, one side alive, because of what a hoof does to a crust that a tine cannot fracture the same way. Native plant species richness inside the release area reached 34 species per plot by year 8. Outside, 11 species, unchanged from baseline. The additional 23 species were not introduced. They were already present in the soil's seed bank. Seeds that had been lying dormant in the crusted ground for decades, waiting for a hoof to break the surface above them and let rain reach them for the first time since collectivization ended. By year 15, vegetation cover in intensively grazed patches had shifted from 60% coarse annual weed to 60% native perennial grass. The soil organic matter content had increased measurably in the top 10 centimeters, the layer that determines whether a grassland is a functioning ecosystem or just ground with grass on it. The horses had not restored the steppe to what it was in 1950. What they had built was more complex than that, and the researchers were still trying to explain why. The results from Altyn Emel did not stay in Kazakhstan. The data attracted attention from steppe restoration programs in Mongolia, Ukraine, and Western China, regions facing the same problem at the same scale. These are degraded Soviet-era agricultural lands with broken soil structure, failed passive restoration, failed mechanical programs, and no budget large enough to treat millions of hectares by conventional means. The economic argument is the same one that Brandenburg made about wild boar. A Przewalski's horse family group, once established, self-maintains, self-expands, and covers territory continuously at zero operating cost per hectare. The cost of the initial Altyn Emel reintroduction, including transport, fencing, and monitoring, comes to less than 2 years of mechanical scarification across the same area. Kazakhstan now has more than 140 Przewalski's horses across multiple reintroduction sites. The number is still growing. The International Union for Conservation of Nature reclassified the species from extinct in the wild to endangered in 2008. It was the only large mammal ever to recover from that designation in the recorded history of conservation. That fact is worth stopping on. This is an animal that had 0 individuals in the wild in 1969. Every living Przewalski's horse in existence had to be traced back through zoo breeding records to a group of fewer than 15 founder animals. The entire genetic diversity of the species passed through a bottleneck so narrow that any serious disease outbreak in a single zoo population could have ended the species entirely. And now there are horses running across the Kazakh steppe, breaking soil crusts, building grass mosaics, carrying seeds in their dung, doing exactly what their ancestors did for 50,000 years. I am not sure that has fully sunk in yet, for anyone. In 2022, the research team published a long-term projection for the Altyn Emel site. They modeled 3 futures: no intervention, continued mechanical restoration, and continued Przewalski's horse management. Same site, same starting soil, 50 years out. The horse management scenario produced a native grassland ecosystem across 71% of the release area by year 50. Mechanical restoration produced 28%. No intervention produced 9%. Sit with those numbers for a moment. Because what they describe is not unique to one national park in southeastern Kazakhstan. Degraded Soviet steppe covers an area larger than Western Europe. Most of it is sitting in the same biological zero that Altyn Emel was in 2003. Most of it is receiving the same answer it has received since 1991: insufficient budget, failed seeding programs, mechanical treatments that do not hold. What the horses proved is not complicated. The steppe evolved with large mobile grazers. Remove those grazers for long enough and the soil forgets how to function. Return them, even 6, even into a fenced research site in one corner of Kazakhstan, and the soil begins to remember. Dead steppe. 140 horses, grass and soil. 15 years later, something that had not existed since before most living people were born. But Kazakhstan is not the only country where the return of a single animal changed what a piece of land could become. In our next video, we go to Oman, where 40 Arabian oryx, declared extinct in the wild in 1972, were released into a dead desert, and what they did to sand and rock over the decades that followed was the first time in history a species had come back from that designation entirely. You will not look at deserts the same way again. If you want to see what happens when a species comes back from actual extinction, not near extinction, actual zero in the wild, the Arabian oryx video is next.